Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Welcome to this episode of
QCC.
That's questions, comments, concerns as far as you're concerned. Yes, this is QCC, questions, comments, concerns. If you have any of those, or perhaps you want to speak to a manager, you've come to the right place. I'd like to say hello to my good friends in the cheap seats.
I'd rather be lancing my neighbor's hemorrhoids, but he stood me up.
Always good to hear from them. I'm still working out the bugs in this segment. I've turned myself around once again. Last episode, I was looking that way. Decided that my comfort far exceeds my desire to look at those people.
Your name and desire in the same sentence? I don't think so, buddy.
Well, happy to have you here regardless. All right, let's jump into an update. All right, well, not exactly breaking news, but a topic that's kind of a big one here on my channel. That's audio interfaces. Now, this is something that you're probably not going to hear about on CNN, but if you're into audio interfaces, this might be of interest. AKM is a company based in Japan that makes some really integral components for different audio interfaces for many, many different well-known brands. They developed this digital analog converter and analog to digital converters. These are chips that are inside your favorite audio interfaces. Anyways, they had this massive fire that lasted like 82 hours. And apparently they're the principal supplier of this component for, like I said, a number of major audio interface manufacturers. And they gone and blow it up pretty good. So not really sure what's going to happen, but clearly there's going to be a supply shortage of this very key component. I mean, this is the chip that's part of converting your sound from analog to digital and back again. So it's a very important function of an audio interface. So I don't know how many manufacturers are using chips from them. I assume they have a very large market share. Hopefully someone else knows how to make them, but they're going to be down for a while. But it's a topic that I've been thinking about a lot, just because if you own an audio interface, if you're looking to buy one, you might have faced a similar problem that I have. I have a Mac Pro trash can, which is a Thunderbolt 2 computer. I've been looking to upgrade. Those brand new Mac Pros are really, really expensive. And now that Apple has just released a new chip, we're wondering, is there going to be maybe a middle step, another Mac Pro? Should we jump in and spend $50,000 on a computer? You want to go USB. Thunderbolt 3 is sort of the flavor for most of the Macs now. Are they going to stick with it? Are they going to move on? I don't have any insight into manufacturing for audio interfaces, but I'm sensing it's a little bit of a problem. Anyway, it's just something I wanted to throw out there. And there's stuff happening behind the scenes. Actually, this big fire, an executive from one of these companies said this was like one of the biggest disasters in their industry in 40 years. So I don't know if there were home studios 40 years ago, but hopefully that's not going to translate into a shortage of audio interfaces, because I do know they're flying off the shelves these days with everybody stuck at home. So just another wrinkle in the audio interface industry. The other thing is, just quickly, the tube amp, talking about manufacturing. It's a topic close to my heart. I've been focusing some of my videos on the survival of the tube amp. Again, one of those things a lot of people don't think about, but as long as there's tubes, there'll be tube amps. But there's not as many manufacturers of tubes anymore. And a few people in the know I've had some conversations with said, you know what, they might not just last forever. Now you factor in less factories making tubes, more companies making modelers, young kids following their heroes who play modelers, and us old farts who still want tube amps because our favorite guitar players, half of which are sadly no longer with us. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. That's just the way that it is. But I've been focusing some of my content on the survival of the tube amp, and that's a tube amp that needs to find ways to play, have fun and play friendly and play nice with digital technology. So as part of my usual protocol with this QCC, I'm going to create a playlist with any videos that I do talk about. In this video, I'm going to create one playlist with all the videos, and I will include these tube amp videos in that playlist, so you can look for that in the description below. All right, let's start with the first. It's actually a comment from the world's worst musician. I thought that was me. Apparently I'm maybe the second worst. I don't know. World's worst musician wrote, "Kind of surprised this channel doesn't have 100,000 subs." Well, thank you very much. I'm kind of surprised it doesn't either. Well, actually, that's not true. I haven't been at this game as long as some people think, maybe in calendar years, but YouTube is a slog. It's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of big channels that focus on a similar topic as me, and they've been around for a bunch of years, so there's a lot of catching up for this lonely rocker to do, but it is a lot of work, and I do wonder sometimes, you know, if people are discovering this channel, if they like what I'm doing. That's why segments like this are great, because I can go through the comments and listen to some of your feedback, and I definitely read and respond to as much as I can, which I think is a big part of building a community. So it really warms my heart when someone takes notice and offers a comment like that, and I do appreciate it. And hopefully those of you watching this little segment here, maybe we'll jump into some of my other videos, and perhaps you'll hit that little red button and come along for the ride, as I always say. Next, we've got the shopper. Maybe he's shopping online these days. I don't know. What's your thought on using melamine open cell foam instead of Rockwool? This is a type of question that's come up a lot in terms of the materials inside acoustic panels. I've got a lot of videos here on my channel about acoustic panels, and apparently I've become the quasi-guru on the topic. But the truth is, if you're making panels for a home studio, there are options. Nothing is going to be the best. And I think the reason I wanted to address this question is that a lot of people have asked about alternative materials to put inside the panels because they don't want to use insulation. I get it. You know, I use Rockwool inside of mine. I started with Safe and Sound. I'm now using Comfort Board, which is the rigid product. People are concerned about particles getting into the air. I've done my own research, and I really don't want to get into that again because you can watch some of my other videos. I talk about it, but the main thing is you got to feel comfortable, and if you're not sure, you got to talk to a professional. And whether it's open cell foam or whether putting a denim cotton insulation, putting in piles of socks and underwear, whatever the case may be, you know, you're not going to build the best studio at $20 a panel, but you are going to improve your space. And here's another topic that has come up about the backing fabric. I've argued with people about whether or not you should wrap your panel and then put the backing fabric on last. Some people think you should do it first because it's easier. Well, here's a perfect example. Why don't you go build yourself your panels, fill your panel with the material you feel comfortable with, and test them. If you don't like how it sounds or you want to improve on it in the future, guess what? You can just peel off the backing. You can put a different type of material inside, close it up, and you won't disturb the fabric on the outside. If you have fun building things on your own, just have fun with it and go to town, do some tests. That's all I've done here. Certainly you can watch my videos and take my recommendations, but if you're looking to try some different materials, definitely give it a shot. You know what? And let me know. It's something I can try out. I'd be happy perhaps to do a video on it sometime in the future. All right, the next comment comes from Hanmer Music, and this relates to a video I did on my Suhr Classic T Deluxe. It's sitting here behind me. God, I love this guitar. That was a milestone birthday guitar. And you know what, I'm talking about trying to grow on YouTube. You know, some videos I do, they just take off like a rocket, and then some I just put my heart into them and just nobody seems to care. And that's how it is. But that was a very special video to me about why I chose that guitar, and it revolved around a milestone birthday and my family and things like that. So Hamner Music actually said, lovely story, congratulations. So thank you so much for taking the time for watching that video. And if any of you are watching this right now and haven't seen that video, again, it'll be in the playlist. And it's just, you know, that guitar really changed my mind. I thought it was a certain type of player, especially there's a certain good type of guitar that I liked, and I realized that there were other options out there. So I'm not going to give away too much, but make sure you check out that video if you haven't seen it. Here's a brand new segment for this little show.
What does it sound like? How much does it cost? What's that mix? I don't know how to mix my guitars. How do you get a good bass?
Well, the ridiculously long question. Look at this thing. I do appreciate his enthusiasm. I don't mean to make fun of him, but honestly, I don't know how I could possibly answer that question, but I will leave it in the comments. Where did he put it? I don't even know, on one of my videos. So if any of you happen to see it and want to answer some of his questions, please help the poor guy out, because there's a lot that he really wants to know. All right, this next question is from Jan Tittlebach. Hopefully I am pronouncing that one correctly. This comes from the How Does a Dog Controller Work video. Is that what I called it? Anyways, it'll be in the description. Jan writes, hi there, really good video, subscribed. Now for my personal question. I am between the PreSonus FaderPort 8 and the Icon you use. Most of the time I use Pro Tools and Logic. Which one of these is more suitable in your opinion? Thanks, brah. Well, I get a lot of questions from people wanting to know my opinion on what I think is best for them. That's a really hard question to answer, and I appreciate the trust and seeking out my opinion. But the best way for me to address that is I feature products here that I generally like to use. Now, there's no secret that I like Icon gear. It's the centerpiece of my studio here. And when I was looking to buy a unit for myself, I sort of weighed a number of factors. And the three sort of main factors that I was looking at was build quality, functionality, and price. And the Icon sat right in the pocket of those three things. It's a very reasonably priced device. They're solidly built. I use Logic Pro, so there's a baked-in Logic Pro mode in the QCon products. And the Huey protocol is also baked right into the unit. So either one of those will work great with this unit. FaderPort 8 is a PreSonus product, and PreSonus does make their own DAW, which is Studio One. And there's a special relationship between hardware and software that they they design both of those things. So they're designed to work really well together. Now, I haven't actually used their DAWs or their controllers, but I follow a lot of products in the industry, and I'm quite impressed. And a lot of people who are in that ecosystem really love the setup. They got the Studio Live controllers as well, and it integrates really nicely with their controllers and the software. It's just a great ecosystem. Not to say that the fader port is not going to work with other DAWs, absolutely does, but obviously they've made those controllers to really sit nicely with their own software. So clearly there's going to be some kind of compromise or some functions that are not going to work the same on other DAWs. But with universal controllers, you're going to find little kinks like that as well. It's hard to be a jack of all trades and a master of anything. The Icon is a good solid controller, and for all the main functions that you want and beyond, it's going to do a great job. I think ultimately you want to get your hands on it, see how it feels, look at the dimensions of the product, look at the expandability. I like the Icon because they've got the extenders, and you can build this out to up to 32 tracks, so that's a consideration. But honestly, I appreciate you trusting my viewpoint, but you got to get your hands on it and see which product actually meets your needs. And really, at the price point you're spending, hopefully you'll get a lot of years of use out of it anyways. And best I can say is good luck in choosing the one that's right for you. Oh, it seems a special someone has come to visit me again. Yes, my wife Jenny, who likes to pop into the comments. Now, those of you out there who are into mixing audio production like I am here, and you have a spouse, there's a syndrome that's called dump it on your spouse-itis, and that's us audio guys constantly want to talk about our latest milestones and things we've heard and created, and we're just so proud, and we just have to share it with our spouses who know nothing about music production. You know what I'm talking about. My poor wife has to endure, and I'll tell you, she knows about more than pretty much everything else in life than I do, except for maybe audio production, and she puts up with watching my videos and occasionally has a question for me, so let's see what she has to say. She writes, "It was interesting that I could hear the difference more distinctly when I watch your video on a computer versus watching on my phone." Now, this relates to the video that I did on the Melda Production M Spectral Dynamic plugin. What on earth is that? If you know nothing about music, I can't even believe she watched that video. But you know what? It's a very good question. She asked that for different reasons, but it got me thinking that there's a lot of people who follow this channel, have watched my videos, and they ask a question, and it's very clear that they haven't listened or even watch the video. When you're dealing with music production, and let's say you're auditioning a plugin or something like that, you're hoping that people are watching the video and listening to it in their own mixing environment. Now, if you don't have one, that's fine, but then your questions, I'm not really sure what your question's going to be in that case. But if you're auditioning a plugin for purchase, I do the best to represent the plugin the best I can. There's other factors in producing the video, of course, and that, but it's very clear that people often, I don't say often, but there's a number of people out there that just either are not listening or didn't watch the video. If you're watching a video about a plugin, you want to see what it does, you got to try and listen to it on proper mixing speakers in your mixing environment. It's the best way to audition an audio product, short of getting your hands on it yourself. So Jenny, thank you very much for the question. It's an interesting discussion and something that I've often thought about. Well, the next question comes from OEO. This relates to my video on Fuse Audio Labs. I did an interview with Ray, who's the founder of Fuse Audio Labs and also a plugin developer himself. The question is, or the statement is, or the comment is, Fuse Audio is one of my fave developers. Thanks for this interview. Yeah, if you haven't caught it, I did a full-length interview with Ray from Fuse. Just interesting to get into the mind of a plugin developer. I think we take those little things for granted sometimes, but they're a big part of the mixing experience, and it was really interesting just to get an idea of little things like, what is a plugin actually worth? We see plugin companies charging all sorts of different prices for seemingly the same thing. So we talked about that and a number of other topics. He's a really fascinating fellow, so I will definitely add that video to the QCC number 4 playlist in the description, so make sure to check that out. Yes, we seem to have a disgruntled commenter in our midst. Stanley Nowick, and this relates to my audio interfaces video from like a year and a half ago. Why am I sick of that guitar? Why are you sick of that guitar, Stanley? I work really hard for you. I practice every day just to give it my all. And why are you sick of my guitar playing? You know what? I'll tell you what. Here's that beautiful Suhr guitar. I'm going to give you this guitar. You can start your own YouTube channel, and then I'll be critical of your playing. And finally, we have arrived at the last question. I've got Eduardo Diaz here, who was watching my video on, again, saving the tube amp. This is the series of videos that I've started where I'm just looking at different digital technologies that align with tube amps in the spirit of keeping tube amps alive. This was the one that I did on the Rev D20 with a baked-in torpedo captor. So this is a tube amp with a DI and digital speaker sim setup built into the amp. Really great technology. Again, check it out. Link in the description. Eduardo wrote, I bought a used Marshall 6100, and with the 2 Notes DI box, it's more useful, and I still enjoy the raw sound more than the digital modeling amps. So yes, that would be the standalone. 2 Notes makes the Captor 8. They got the Studio Live. They have a number of products. These are devices you can buy if you have a tube amp and you're just looking to record it directly bypassing your speaker cabinets. You can use one of their Captor products. The Torpedo Captor 8 is what I have here in my studio. You take the speaker out from your amp head, you run it through the Captor 8, then you can take it into your computer through your interface, record the amp head directly, and then you can apply digital speaker sims. It's a really, really great workflow. I've got the Hughes & Kettner Grandmeister Deluxe 40, which is a new addition to my studio that has a built-in red box. It has analog speaker sim on board, and it's another way to work. You can also record it without the speaker sims and use any IRs. I've used M Cabinet, Wall of Sound by 2 Notes. But the 2 Notes products, I really absolutely, it's a game changer for me. I wasn't even aware of the technology until I got my hands on my first 2 Notes, and that will be a permanent fixture in my studio. Glad you're enjoying yours, Mr. Eduardo Diaz. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of QCC. Love to hear from you guys. Certainly you can put any questions in the comments section of this video. I do my best to read as many as I can. If something catches my eye, it has a good chance to make it into another episode of QCC. If you're new to the channel, you can hit that subscribe button. That worst musician in the world wants to see me hit 100,000 subscribers, so you can be a big part of that crusade to get me there. And I thank each and every one of you for just clicking that little red button on my behalf. And as always, I appreciate my good friends in the cheap seats for spending their quality time with me.
If by quality you mean crap.
Yes, exactly. And again, happy that you were here. Hope to see you again in another video. And until next time, I am the Lonely Rocker.